Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to Engineering Adda. So today in this video we are going to discuss about one of the major release of Spring Boot 3.2 version, which is JDBC Client. We are going to see how we can use JDBC Client to interact with the database, and through the JDBC Client how we can perform the basic CRUD operations. Everything we are going to see in this video. So what we'll do, we'll try to create a Spring Boot application and we'll try to cover the basic CRUD APIs. Here for the database connectivity, we are using JDBC client. Okay. In the previous video, I have discussed about how to use JDBC template to interact with the database, and there also I have covered the basic CRUD APIs. In this video, we are also going to see the difference between the JDBC template and the JDBC client as well. Okay. So this is what the introduction of the video. Let's get started for that. So let me try to go to the IntelliJ and try to create one Spring Boot application here. So let me try to tell you that I'm using IntelliJ Ultimate version. So what its offer is directly in the IntelliJ itself, you can create a Spring Boot application. If you're not using the IntelliJ Ultimate version, if you're using the community version or if you're using some other IDE, then there is an option for you as well. So let me try to tell you where you have to go. If you're using the IntelliJ Ultimate version, go to the file new and project, and there you will find this option of Spring Initializer. If you are not using the ultimate version and using some other ID, then you have to go to this website which is startspring.io. There if you'll go, you will find the same page to open there, and you have to provide the basic details that I'm going to show you, and then you have to download the zip file of your application. You have to download the zip file, extract it out and open it in the ID that you're using. Okay, so let me try to provide the project name here. So let's say it is a Spring Boot latest release, something like that. JDBC client. Okay, select the Maven here and go next. Let me try to tell you, you need to select the Spring Boot version to Spring Boot 3.2 or .0. Okay, or .o you can say. And here you can see we are getting the option of M3, but we need M2. Okay, so let me try to select as of now M3, and later on we can change it. Here we are including couple of starter dependency like Lombok, and we need the Spring Web as well. And the database that we are going to use is MySQL. So let me try to use the MySQL driver. And finally, we need to use the JDBC API. Okay, so that we can use the JDBC client. Now let me try to create this application and just wait for a few seconds. Open it up in the new tab and wait for a few seconds so that it can download the dependency that you have added and configure your application. So just wait for a few seconds. Okay, I think it's good. Let me try to go to the source main Java. Okay, it is good now. So we have created the application. Now start the development. Okay, so let me try to go with the, and once the development is in progress, I will also try to bring out the difference between the JDBC client and the JDBC template as well. Okay, so let me try to do that. So here what we are going to do is we are going to perform the basic CRUD operations, and we are going to create the entity, we are going to create the database logic layer, we are going to create the service layer, we are going to create the controller layer. This is what the architecture we are going to follow here. Okay, so what we are going to do, this application will be performing the CRUD operation on the product. So we are going to perform the basic CRUD operation like create, read, update and delete on the product. So we are going to insert the product into the database. We are going to read the product or fetch out the product from the database. We are going to update the product, and we are going to delete the product. So all the basic four operations, four CRUD operations we are going to perform on the product. Okay. So In the other way, you can say that this is a product management application where we are going to perform the basic CRUD operation on the product. Okay. So now let's get started for that. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the entity is going to create the database logic layer, going to create the service layer, and then controller layer. So this is the architecture that we are going to follow. Before going to do those things, what I just want to let you know is I'm using the MySQL database in this application. Okay, so how we can communicate our application with the MySQL database, that also I'm going to show you. So how this two, like my application and my MySQL database is going to interact with each other, those things also we need to configure and we need to write the code for that. How we are going to do it, I'm just going to show you those things as well. So we'll start with that and later on then we'll do the development. So first of all, if you go to the MySQL application, here you can see I'm using the MySQL workbench and I'm using the MySQL uh, version 8. Okay, so here I'm going to do database creation, a table creation, and the same table we are going to use in the application. Okay, so this is a product related application, so we'll also try to create the database, and then inside the database we'll try to create the table product. Okay, where we'll try to interact or try to store the database related things or try to store the product related things. Okay, so this is the thing. Now before going to do the configuration to connect with the database, I'm just going to create a database here, and then we'll try to create a table also, and then we'll do the configuration. So this is the MySQL workbench, and if you'll come here, you will find this option to create a new schema in the connected servers. So just click on it, and you have to provide the DB name here. So let's say the database that I'm going to create is sample underscore DB, and you have to go and apply, and then you have to come here and apply again, and then finish it out, and that's all. Your database is being created here. If you'll go down, you will find this database which is sample underscore DB. If you'll come under the sample underscore DB database, you will find this folder structure called tables, views, stored procedure, and the function. Inside the table, we'll try to create one table which we are going to use in the application. Okay, so later on we'll do that. So this is we have created our database. Now if we'll go to the application to communicate or to call or to like to talk with the database, you need to do the configuration. So here if you come here in the resource folder, inside the resource folder you will find this file which is application.properties file. Here you have to do those configurations so that our application can connect it with the database. So for this configuration, I already have written couple of codes where we have to provide the username, URL, password, and if you want to like, let me try to paste it out and explain you one by one. So the first configuration is where we are providing the URL. Which URL it is? It is the URL for your database. Okay, so the base URL for the database is JDBC MySQL, JDBC MySQL. Okay, and then where your application is up and running. So my MySQL is up and running locally. So that is why we are providing the local host, and which port your application, MySQL application is up and running. So for me, this is the port on which my MySQL application is up and running, which is 3306. And then you have to provide your database. So in our case, the database that we have created is sample underscore DB. So this would be our URL. Let me try to read it out for you. So it is JDBC MySQL // localhost, and then the port number on which your MySQL is up and running, and then your database. Now again, let me try to verify it for you. So this is the database. This is the database that we have created. Okay, come here again and then paste it out so that we don't make any mistake. Now for me the username is root, and for the password I have configured this password for me. For yours case, you can configure your password according to you. So these three things you have to provide in order to connect with the database. Now this fourth one, this is for the port number. If you want to change your default port for your application to up and running, you can change it through this configuration, where you have to provide the server.port and then port number on which you want your application up and running. For now, let me try to remove it, and let's say we will be running our application on the default port, which is 8080. So these three configuration you have to provide in the application.properties file so that you can communicate with your database. Okay. Now the database communication configuration is done, and we also have created our database here. Now what is the next step? So what we'll do, we'll try to start the development, and then in between the development, when we'll create the entity, we'll try to create the table as well. Okay, so let me try to do that. So first of all, I'm just going to create the entity here. So go to the file, new, and select a Java class, and here you have to provide the package name first. So let's say I'm creating the package called entity, and dot class name, let's say it is product entity, and that's all. Now you have to add the attributes for this product. So let's say the attribute that we want to add in the product is ID. So let's say it is integer ID, and the second attribute is, let's say, product name, and then we have the, let's say, double price of the product, and then we have the quantity of the product. So let's say it is integer quantity. Okay, so these four attributes we have added into the product. Now we need to create the all argument constructor and no argument constructor and getter and setter for this fields. So let me try to use the Lombok here. So what I'm going to do, with the help of Lombok, I'm just directly going to use these annotations, and it will create the all argument constructor, no argument constructor, and getter and setter for us without writing the boilerplate code. Okay, so let me try to use it. Now no argument constructor, and then data for the getter and setter and to string. Now I also want to add the table here. So here you can see I'm using at the rate table annotation to call the table that we are going to use in this application. So you have to use the table annotation, and then you have to provide the table name that going to use. So here let's say I'm just going to use the table called product, and the same table should be existing in your database that you have created. As of now we don't have this table. Later on we'll try to add it. So what we have did here in the entity, we have provided the table that we are going to use in our application. Okay, and if you are facing the issue to add this table, then you have to add one starter dependency. So let me try to go to the pom.xml and make sure you are using this hibernate starter dependency. Okay, so I will provide the GitHub link of this application in the video description. There you can directly go and add this, or what you can do is when you'll go to the product, when for the first time when you are going to add this add the table annotation, you will find one option here which will be showing you to add the Maven dependency, and it will open up much of the option to add the Maven dependency, and you have to select this hibernate one, or you can directly come here uh, from the code base and then copy it out and paste it in your pom.xml, and then go to the Maven and then run this Maven or reload all the Maven projects, something like that you will do. It will start working. Okay, so we have the product ready, and now let me try to go to the database and try to create this table as well. Okay, so one by one we are following the things. So come here and come to the table, right click on it and create table. So you have to come to this particular database that you have created and go to the table folder, right click on it and create table. Now let me try to minimize it for you and then I will show you those things. So here you can see you have the table name that you have to provide here. So you have to provide the same name that you have configured here in your entity. So copy this, come here to the MySQL and then provide it out here. Now you have to add the columns here. So you have to add the 4 columns that you have provided in your entity product. So if you'll come here to the product, you have these 4 attributes, which is ID, name, price, and the quantity. The same column we need to add in our table. So come here again and let me try to add those columns here. So ID, and it is of integer type. Now we have the name, which would be of string type. So here in the database it is varchar, and then we have the price, which is of double. So let me try to change it to the double, and then we have the quantity, which is of integer type again. Let me try to change it to the integer, and that's all. Now just apply it and apply again and then finish it. Now your table is created. If you'll come here to the table, you can see this product table is created. Again, let me try to refresh it and then yeah, it is good. Now you can open a SQL query here. I already have opened couple of them. So go to one of them and let me try to run this command, which is select star from your table. Let me try to run it, and here you can see we are able to fetch the table. As of now, we don't have any record or any product inserted in our table. Only we have the schema ready for the table, which is ID, name, price, and the quantity. So the things are working fine, and now what I will do, I will try to continue my development here. So we have created this product. We have did the configuration to connect with the database, and now the next thing what we are going to do is we are going to develop the database logic layer, service layer, and the controller layer. But here I'm just not going to develop the database logic layer. Directly I'm going to jump to the service layer, and there I will try to write the database queries. Okay, so let me try to create the service layer here. So go to the file, new, and here let me try to create one interface where I will list out all the methods that we are going to implement, all the CRUD related method, and then we'll try to create one implementation class where we'll try to implement all these methods. Okay, so let me try to do that here. Let's say the package name is service, and we are going to create the interface called product service, and in this interface we are going to create all the 4 abstract method which will cover our CRUD operation. So the first method is, let's say it is returning the list of product from the DB, and its name is get all product. Okay, second method is adding the product. So this method we are passing the argument as a add, and it will add the product into the database. Now we have the update product, and what we are passing here is ID and the reference by which we want to update the product. So based upon this ID, it will try to fetch out the existing product, and based upon this argument that we are passing as a product, it will update the existing product. Now we have the remove, you can say, or you can say, let's say delete product, and only argument we have to pass in the delete is ID. Okay, so based upon the ID, we are going to delete the particular product. So these are the 4 methods that we are going to implement. Now let me try to create the implementation class for it. So go to the Java class, and let's say I'm just going to create the package called IMPL, and inside that package I'm going to call the, or I'm going to create the product, service IMPL class. Okay. Now we need to annotate this class with @service annotation, or you can say @component annotation. Why? Because we need to create the bean for this class and assign it to the application context so that whenever we want to use its object, wherever we want to use it, we can use it. So we have did that. Now what I will do, I will try to implement all the methods which are inside the product service interface. So let me try to implement that interface here. First of all, import it and then implement the methods, and then one by one we'll try to do the implementation. Okay, so we are good now. Now what I need to do, how we are going to implement the things in these methods. Okay, so let's say this get all product method, what it is doing, it is going to return the list of product that is existing into the database or into the table. Okay, so how we can retrieve all the products? So there is a SQL query which is select star from the table, and that will try to fetch out all the record from the table, right? So the same query we are going to write here, but how it will connect with the database, how it will try to fetch out the product from the DB. So there come the picture of JDBC client. Okay, so let me try to auto-wire the JDBC client here so that we can use its methods and try to pass our queries and interact with the DB. So private, and it is JDBC client. Okay, let me try to remove this JDBC client. We are creating one reference here which we are auto wiring here. Now we have the JDBC client ready. With the help of this JDBC client, we are just going to call the SQL, and in the SQL you have to pass the query that you want to fire here. So here we want to fetch out all the products from the DB. So for that the query would be select star from the particular table. So in our case the table is product. If you'll go to the entity product, you will find this table name. Now again come here to the implementation and pass the table name here. Okay, so what we did, we are calling the JDBC client. With the help of the JDBC client, we are calling this SQL method. Inside the SQL method, we are passing the query in the form of a string. Now what we need to do, we need to call the query here, and in the query you need to provide what you are expecting out of this method response. So out of this method we are expecting the list of product, right? So you have to provide the in the query you have to provide the product dot class, and then you are expecting the list out of it. So you have to provide the list again. You have to call the list method. So that's all. What it is doing is it is running this query, firing this query, and then it is returning all the list of product. Simple as that. Now we have the implementation done. Now we need to create the controller layer. So go to the file, new, and here you have to create a controller layer. So let's say I'm just going to create the package called controller, and then inside the package I'm going to create the controller class for the product, which is product controller. Now this is the controller layer, so we need to we need to annotate this class with @rest controller so that we can expose our APIs here. And let's say I'm also going to use the request mapping here so that I can provide the class level mapping, which is, let's say in my case it is /API. And now what we need to do, we need to auto add the product service here, and with the help of that reference we are just going to call the method inside the product service. So let me try to auto wire it. So auto wire private product service, and now let me try to develop the first API, which is fetching out all the product from the DB. So for that it is a get API, and let's say the additional URL is forward slash products. So when we are going to hit this API, it would be forward slash API forward slash product. Okay. So this is the common API for all, and these are the additional API. Now this API would be returning the list of product. Let me try to import the product here and the list as well. And let's say the method name of this API is fetch all product. We are not passing anything, and with the help of this reference product service, we are just going to call the method inside it. So what was the method? Get all products, I think. Yeah. And we have to simply return it from here. That's all. Let me try to show you the whole flow. So the class level mapping is forward slash API, and then you have to pass the additional mapping for this API to be called, which is forward slash products. And then inside it, you are going to call the service layer. Inside the service implementation, if you'll go, you will find that you are firing this query, and then you are returning the list of product. That's all. Now let me try to run this application and try to hit our first API. So just wait for a few seconds and let this application up and running. Enable those things. Once it is up, if everything is fine, we'll try to hit the API. So make sure you have the Postman open and ready so that you can hit the API. So here you can see your Tomcat service started on the port number 8080. This is the default port for the Tomcat, and our application is up on the port number 8080. Okay. So go to the Postman, and first of all go to the controller layer, and you have to make your APIs. So your application is locally up on the port number 8080. So it would be the base URL would be http colon forward slash localhost, and then you have to provide the port number, and then you have to provide this APIs. Okay. So go to the Postman, and here you can see our application is locally upon the port number 8080. So these are the base URL, and then these are the common class URL, and then these are the additional URL for the particular API. So you can see this the class URL is API, sorry, yeah, class URL is API, and then we have the forward slash products for the particular API, which is fetching out all the products from the DB. So copy this and come here to the Postman, paste it out. Yeah, it is good. Now hit this API. And here we go. We are not getting anything, but the status is 200. That means our API is working fine. Why we are not getting anything? Because we don't have inserted any record in our table. If you'll come here and if you'll run this query, you will see that nothing is there in the table, right? So we are not getting anything, but our API is working fine. That is why our status is 200. Now let me try to implement the second method, which is inserting the product into the DB, so that we can insert couple of product and then we'll try to fetch it out. Okay, so we'll see. So come here to the product service and go to the implementation of this add product method, and here let me try to do the implementation. So with the help of JDBC client, we are going to fire the SQL query, and in this case the SQL query is insert into the product, and you have to pass the fields here. So it is ID, name, price and quantity, and then you have to pass the values for them, and the four values you have to pass here. Okay, and I think that's all. And then you have to call the uh, parameters, and here you have to pass the parameters that you want to provide as a value. So let me try to do it first and then we'll try to explain you all those things. So list of parameters, get ID, name, price, and the last one is quantity. Okay, so we have this and then we have to use the update, and that's all. So let me try to tell you what it is doing. So here we are with the help of JDBC client, we are firing out this SQL command which is inserting the product into the DB. So this command is insert into the product, which is the table name for us, and then we are passing out these are the fields that we want to insert, and these are the values. So in the values we have provided the question mark. Why? Because we want to dynamically pass these values, and these values are coming from the argument that we are passing here, the product that we want to insert. Okay, so that is why the next method that we are calling is parameters, and in the parameters we are passing the list of parameters like the values that we want to insert, like ID, name, price, and the quantity, and these values we are fetching out from the product that we want to insert. And then finally we are using this update method. That's all. And yeah, our implementation for the add product is good. Now go to the controller layer, and here we'll try to create one API. So this time it would be the post API because it is an insert one. And let's say the additional URL is insert, and the method is returning nothing for us. And let's say the method name is insert product. We are passing the product that we want to insert as a request body. And then with the help of this product service, we are calling the add product method and passing this product that we want to add. That's all. Now run this application and try to hit this API. Okay, so we'll see. Once the application is started, we will try to hit this API. So copy this. The class level API is / API, and then to insert the API, we need to additionally provide this / insert. So our application is up. Now go to the Postman and try to insert this record or product, you can say. So change this verbose to post and go to the body, go to the JSON and select the JSON here, and here you have to provide the product that you want to insert. So let's say I'm just going to add the ID as well. So let's say we want to insert this product which ID is 1, name is mobile, price is let's say 48,000, and the quantity is 1, and then try to hit it. And here we go, we are able to hit this API successfully, and the status is 200. That means we have inserted this product in the DB successfully. If you want to check it, you can directly go to the this database and try to hit this query. And here we go, you can see this product is inserted into the DB. That means our post API or insert API is also working fine. Now the time to check the existing API that we have developed, which was fetching out all the product from the DB. So let me try to show you, because last time we don't have anything, any product inserted, so we were getting nothing. Right now one product is inserted, so again we want to hit this and then see. So here you can see in the response we are getting out one product that we have inserted. Okay, so that means our both of the APIs are working fine. Now the implementation for the third API, which is update one, we are going to do. So go to the product service, and here you can see we have this method. Go to its implementation, and let me try to do the implementation here. So we are directly going to call the JDBC client.SQL query, and here we have to provide the update query. So update product set, and let's say we are going to set the name, price, and the quantity based upon the condition like where id is equal to this, and that is here again we have to pass the parameters, and let's say this time the parameter are list of parameters we need to pass, and we are passing the product dot name, get name. Similarly we have to pass the price, quantity, whatever attribute you want to update, you have to pass the same thing. So in the query we have set out to set the name, price, and the quantity, so that is why we are passing those things here. And finally we have to pass the id. Based upon this id we are going to update the product. So based upon the id we are fetching out the product and updating it out. Okay, so the last one is id, and why we are getting this, and directly I can pass this id. Okay, because here we are passing the same id, right? Same id we need to pass. Based upon this id we are fetching out the product and then updating the product's name, price, and the quantity based upon this reference of the product that we are passing here. That's all. Now we have to call the update. Okay, that's all. Go to the product controller and develop the API here. So copy this, paste it out. Let's say this time it is the put API, put mapping, and update, and we have to pass the id as a path variable. Okay, so that we can find out the particular product, and then we are going to update that product. Okay, so we are passing this id. Based upon this id we are going to find out this particular product, and we are passing this id as a path variable. If you don't know what is path variable and how to use it, there is a video on my channel, you can go and watch it out. So let me try to pass this path variable here, and we are passing the product based upon which we want to update the existing one. So based upon this id we are fetching out the existing product, and then based upon this request body that we are passing here we are going to update it. Okay, now let me try to call this, let's say change the name to the update product, and here let me try to call the update product and pass the id and the reference based upon which we want to update the product. If you go inside it, go to its implementation. With this id it is fetching out the product and then updating the things based upon the reference that you are passing. Okay, that's all. Now run this application and try to see if this API is working fine or not. So go to the controller, and this time it is update, and we are passing the id as a path variable. So come here to the postman and wait for a few seconds. Yeah, our application is up. Go to the postman, change this URI, and we have to pass the id as a path variable. So as of now we only have one product inserted and its id is 1. So we are going to update this product itself. Change this method type to put, and here in the body we have to pass the product details that you want to update. So just say I'm just going to want update the name, price, and the quantity. So let's say this time I'm just going to change the price to, let's say, 96,000, and the quantity to 2. Okay, and then hit it, and here we go, we are able to hit this API successfully. As you can see the status is 200. That means our product is updated. If you want to check it, go to the MySQL database, and here you fire this query, and here we go, you can see in the details the price and the quantity of the product is updated. So our update API is also working fine, and now the time to implement the delete API. So go to the product service and come here to the implementation of it and try to do the implementation. So let's say JDBC Client.SQL, and then delete from product where id equal to something like id, or yeah, or what you can do, yeah, let's say it is, and then you have to pass the param. Make sure this time it is param, not params. Here we are passing more than one argument, that is why we are using the params method, but here we are passing the only one argument, so we need to use the param, and then you have to pass the id here, and then you have to update. That's all. So we are writing this query to delete the product. Okay, so the table name is product, not products, and the id we are passing out from here. Okay, so that's all. Go to the controller, try to develop this API. So let's say it is delete mapping, and based upon the I like we are the additional URL is delete, and we are passing this ID as a path variable. Based upon this ID, we are going to delete the existing product. Now the return type of this method is void, and the method name is delete product. Now we are passing the ID as a path variable, and based upon this ID, we are going to fetch out the product and delete it. Now we are going to use the product service and call this delete product method and pass the ID. If we'll go inside it, we'll go to implementation, you will see this. So this is the whole flow. Go to the controller, hit this API, it will go to the service layer, fire this query, and delete the product from the database. So our API is completed. Go to the controller again and try to rerun this application and try to hit this API. So copy this extra URI. So the base one is /API, and then delete one is delete, and then you have to pass the ID as a path variable. Based upon this ID, it will delete the product. So our application is up, and go to the Postman now. Change this URI to delete, and let's say we want to delete the product one. Change this verbose to delete, and then send this. And this time we are getting this 500 error. That means we are making some mistake here. So error in the SQL syntax. Okay, let me try to go there, go to its implementation, and let's say, let me try to put this as a question mark, where id equal to question mark, and then pass this id here, and then update. Let me try to rerun it and then see how it is working. Our application is up. Go to the Postman again and try to hit it, and this time the status is 200. That means we are able to successfully hit the delete API. If you want to check the delete is working fine or not, go to the database and try to run this command. And here we go. We don't have anything in the DB. That means our delete API is also working fine. So all of this CRUD APIs is working fine, and we are able to successfully implement the JDBC client. Now comes the second part of this video, where I will try to show you couple of differences between the REST client and the JDBC template and the JDBC client. Okay, so there is a video on my channel where I have showed you how to use JDBC template and perform the CRUD operations. Now I will open up that application, and I will try to show you the difference between its implementation. So let me try to open it out. So it is JDBC template. Open it in a new tab and come here to this implementation. Okay, so same thing I have covered here as well. Okay, now let me try to bring out the difference for you. Let me try to close this one. And this one is the REST client, JDBC client. And I'm just forgetting the names. Like it is a JDBC client, and this one is the JDBC template. So yeah, these are the two. Now let me try to show you some differences here. So this new release of the Spring Boot, which is JDBC client, here the working is very simple. If you'll see here, for the first one, which is fetching out all the products from the DB, we are just simply writing this query, and we are expecting some return type, and that's all. But in the case of JDBC template, you can see here, when we are fetching out the all the products from the DB, from the table, you can say, we have to pass this row mapper as well to map the result in the form of the product. For that, we need to create this row mapper here. You can see this row mapper we have to uh, explicitly create and then pass it out. What this is doing, if you'll go to this row mapper, let me try to go inside it. You will find this is a functional interface, and it has one method called maprow, which is mapping the result set into the particular return type that you want. That is what we are doing here. We are mapping out this result set to the product. So these things you have to do in the case of JDBC template, but this is not the case of the JDBC client. It simplifies the task for us. And if you'll come here to the second comparison, which is again, which is a very good part, is if you'll if you'll come here to this JDBC template, you will see that in the JDBC template we are writing this query, and then in the update we are passing all the argument here. But it does not look good, right? It is not defining the good structure of writing the codes, clear structure of writing codes. But in the case of REST client, JDBC client, again I'm forgetting the name. So in the case of JDBC client, you can see we have to separately call the methods for the particular work. Like here in the SQL, we are passing this SQL query, and then in the parameters, we are passing these parameters, and then we are calling this update method. But in the case of JDBC template, we are passing all the things in one method, which is update. We are passing the query, we are passing the arguments, and that all the things we have to pass here. So these are the couple of differences between the JDBC template and JDBC client. And if you like the video, please hit the like button, and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.